Welcome in to Locked On Knicks. Alex, Wolf, and Gavin Shaw here. And Gavin, the Knicks won 112-99, which you would think would be pretty convincing, but there was some stuff that happened in this game. It was a real roller coaster ride of a game.
No De'Aaron Fox. Julius Randle drops 27 in 27 minutes, then gets ejected. RJ Barrett, one of the more complete games of his career. Jalen Brunson sprained ankle. It was a crazy, crazy night. We get into it all right now on Locked On Knicks.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome in to Locked On Knicks. We want to thank you guys for making Locked On Knicks your first listen today and every day, whether you're checking us out on your favorite podcast platform or taking in the sights and sounds on YouTube. We appreciate you making us a part of your daily routine. And we want to remind you today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. I'm Alex Wolf. I'm editor-in-chief of Knicks site The Strickland, which you can find at thestrick.land. He is Gavin Shaw, your favorite play-by-play broadcaster's favorite play-by-play broadcaster. And we are breaking down the Knicks 112-99 win over my cat jumps into the stream once again. If you're on YouTube, you get exclusive looks at my Siamese kitty. We are breaking down the Knicks 112-99 win over the Kings on Sunday evening. Gavin, I thought this game was interesting, right? Like, so I'm coming back from vacation. I was like keeping up with the Knicks while I was gone, and they decided to go on this like little win streak. Julius Randle is being vintage Julius Randle. It's great. And this game was more the same for him. It seemed he had I think they said the highest first half output for him in his career. And ended up with 27 points in 27 minutes, but had kind of a disappointing end to that game. And, you know, it's like he gets a double technical off of, look, I thought he got fouled. I think he had a real case for like, he was complaining that there wasn't a foul call. He kind of got knocked to the ground, got like bonked on the head.
Sabonis pushed him. Yeah,
Sabonis pushed him. I mean, it was a foul. He didn't get called, but then he can't. I mean, if you're your team's offense, like he was the offense for large parts of this game. If you're playing that role for the team and they really need you, like you can't do that. And, you know, later on, like RJ got asked about it and, you know, after the game, and he was like, look, it's kind of on us too. Like, if a guy's getting heated like that, like you got to step in and like pull him away from the rest before you can do something like that. But for someone that's supposed to be more like the leader of the team, like Randle, I feel like you got to just not get that second technical too. It just zip it and be like, okay, let's let someone else fight this battle for me or something the rest of this game. Tibbs kind of went through the same thing because he picked up an early technical and then had to kind of clam up the rest of the game. So I don't know. It's sort of, and I mean, that's not to like rain on the parade of what was a great game for Julius, but it did kind of put a damper on it for me. Even if he was such a key part to the win and such a key part of establishing an early lead that the Knicks luckily never gave up even after he left.
No, it's kind of beautiful in a way, right? You got the full Julius Randle experience in under a half hour. I mean, the MSG Plus should have charged extra for this one. It was fun to watch until it wasn't. And look, I kind of want to start out with the positive because it was just an incredibly impressive performance from Julius Randle. I mean, that people are comparing the shot making to 2021, and it is a little bit reminiscent of some of the stretches he had this season, but man, I don't ever remember him being this hot. I'm going to pull it up as we talk, Alex, but I mentioned the other night over his last 6 games that he was averaging, I think it was 27, 7, and 5. So he's currently over his last 7 games, including tonight. The shooting is just on another level. So 27 points in 33 minutes, which is nuts. It's almost a point per minute. 9 boards, 4 assists, shooting 46% from the field, 35% from 3, 88% from the foul line. I mean, that is not just all-star numbers. That is first or second team All-NBA type numbers. And tonight, again, just some of the step backs he's hitting are he looks like James Harden on every steroid in the world at different points. And then he's combining that with just brilliant playmaking as well. And then the physicality attacking the rim. Like he started off this game just mowing through Davion Mitchell and then finishing between Domantas Sabonis and Harrison Barnes for an opening score. And then this is a shot Jalen Brunson missed, but his next possession had an opportunity to score on like a little turnaround jumper. And as he was going to shoot it, the last second dished it off to Jalen Brunson. That was very similar to what we saw from him in the Charlotte game on Friday night, where he was leveraging his tendency to shoot those turnarounds and consistently finding guys wide open, completely fooling defenses. And then maybe my favorite sequence from him in the game also came in the first quarter. And this is a weird comparison, Alex. So I want to get your thoughts on it before I continue just going through his night. But he almost reminded me of Steph Curry, not in terms of style, but in terms of what he did, where he drew two defenders. It was really more like three defenders, then whipped out a pass to Quentin Grimes. And just the gravity is what initially was like, oh, it's kind of Steph-like, where everyone on the defense was looking at him in the middle of the paint. Whipped it out to Grimes. Grimes beat a closeout, drove, got it back to Randle. And Randle, instead of hesitating, instead of delaying, instead of looking at the ball, taking out a protractor, measuring the angle to the rim, which is what he's done at various points this season, various points during his Knicks tenure, he just immediately whipped a bullet into the corner to Emmanuel Quickley for three. And it was the combination of the gravity that he had on that play, but then just both the basketball IQ and the unselfishness to rapidly make that next pass. And then we saw more of that in the second half, where he was just directing every time he was doubled. He was like motioning over to RJ and saying, come on, cut to the middle. And RJ was getting either easy buckets or lobs to Mitchell Robinson off of them. And he the combination of the shooting, the athleticism and power going to the basket, the passing and the quick decision-making, and just a general basketball IQ and floor sense, and even defensive effort we've seen over these last few games. This is a player peaking in front of our eyes. And based on past experience, I don't think in any way it's sustainable. I think at some point he's going to have a terrible game and make us go, oh, all right, it's over. But for right now, Alex, he's doing everything he's ever done well at the highest possible level all at once. And it's incredible basketball, and it's fun to watch, and it's making everything work for the Knicks right now.
Yeah, I just hope that Julius is sort of taking note of the fact that, like, the team is winning, and it's largely because of how he's playing. You know, like the goal of basketball should be to win, you know, and that's what every guy's stated goal is that ever does an interview, a post-game interview, a preseason interview, whatever, you know, is, hey, I just want to win. Like, the stats don't necessarily matter. Maybe in a contract year, but, like, you know, other than that, like, guys are just like, I just want to win, and I want to help the team win. And Julius is doing that right now. Like, to your point, yeah, it's lofty company to throw him in the conversation of like a Steph or something as far as gravity.
For one night only.
For one night only. But
yeah.
Like, it's more his understanding of the gravity, because there have been other times, even this year, where he's had doubles thrown at him and he just seems to not know what to do. It's like he forgot it's like, if each season was like a school year, it's like, yeah, and it kind of matches up because the NBA season does run the same time as the school year. Like, if every season was a school year, it's like he goes home for the summer and then just forgets everything, and then came back and didn't use any of the lessons he learned from the year prior in the next year. And that's sort of how it felt last year after 2021, when in that season he was so good at identifying doubles and passing out of them and feeding his teammates, and just had, you know, Reggie Bullock, RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, all these guys around the perimeter that he could feed for threes. Like, this team on paper has that type of talent. You know, obviously you still have RJ Barrett, you have Emmanuel Quickley still, and now you have Quentin Grimes, who's a great spot up shooter. You have Jalen Brunson, who's a great spot up shooter in his own right. Like, there's a lot of shooting talent on this team that Julius can feed on the perimeter if he just leverages the attention that he gets. And this game, he definitely did that. But to your point too, the floor generalness of what he was doing was kind of crazy. Like, you know, I've at other points this year, like, there was another game earlier this year where he yelled at Quickley for something on defense that was clearly Randall's fault. and was like trying to point the finger at quickly and be like, well, that was you, blah blah blah, to which makes you want to say, like, dude, what are you doing? Like, just own up to that was your mistake. But there was a moment in this game where he tried to call quickly up, and quickly didn't come up fast enough. It led to a turnover. I don't know why Randle still passed the ball, seeing that the defender obviously knew it was going to happen then, but maybe it was just to prove a point. But at any rate, he was trying to like direct traffic, and then finally later on in the game, to your point, almost like right before he got thrown out, actually.
It was,
he called for RJ and was like, cut, dude, cut. Because he was like, the RJ's man was coming over to Julius, and the Kings didn't recognize him making that hand signal and just let it happen. Then RJ cuts, and then he caught a cutting Mitchell Robinson for a lob for a dunk. It was just a great sequence, and really kind of underscored the type of game that Julius had, which was one that was less just about how great he was shooting and more about how he was using that to his and the team's advantage. So yeah, this was like there's obviously the black mark on it of him getting ejected, but which still stings and still kind of diminishes the overall game a little bit for him, because of just the moment that it came when the team like was really relying on his offense. But everything leading up to that, he was just really, really fantastic. I mean, I would not have been surprised if he went for like 40 and 10 in this game if he had seen it through to the end. So really just a banner night for Julius in this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw out real quickly. It hurts more because there was no Obi Toppin, right? And Julius knew that, and it's on him, like leader of this team, which he claims to be. You can't get thrown out of a game in that situation when not only to your point how electric he was, but when there was literally no backup, and the counterpoint is, all right, RJ, you gotta go play 44 minutes. And look, RJ did it, and we're going to talk about it in a sec. But that is leaving your teammates out to dry. And on a night where that quickly play aside, where Randle also like had some bad body language and then didn't run back as expeditiously as he could have, and gave up a layup on the other end. On a night where he was really good about helping his teammates and directing his teammates and supporting them in every way possible, like that was frustrating. And look, the guy just like I saw like our friend Benji Ritholtz was talking about this on Twitter, but there's a real lack of basketball emotional maturity. Like who knows off the court? Don't want to comment on that, but on the court, that is very clearly a reality with him. And it's not to be mistaken with a lack of basketball IQ, because he showed tonight, like on that play you're referencing with RJ, he has that skill in abundance, but emotionally it is even at this point at 28, like it's just not all there. And it could have screwed the Knicks on another night against the better team, but it didn't. And that was in large part because of RJ Barrett, which we will talk about in just a sec. But first, Rocket Money. Man, oh man, do I have a hard time canceling subscriptions. I was subscribed to a newspaper last year for broadcasting reasons that will go unnamed on this podcast, but I was getting charged month after month, and like I honestly, like I didn't even realize that my limited price subscription had run out, and I was now being charged literally 7 times as much. That never would have happened with Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill. Are you wasting money on subscriptions? 80% of people have subscriptions they forget about. Maybe for you, it's an unused Amazon Prime account or a Hulu account that never gets streamed. There's this great app I use that helps me track all my expenses, and because of it, I no longer waste money on subscriptions I don't use. You might have heard of it. It's called Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill. The app shows all your subscriptions in one place and cancels what you don't want. Rocket Money can even find subscriptions you didn't know you were paying for. You may even find out you've been double charged for a subscription. To cancel a subscription, all you have to do is press cancel, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. Cancel unnecessary subscriptions with Rocket Money today. Go to rocketmoney.com/LockedOnNBA. Seriously, it could save you hundreds a year. That's rocketmoney.com/LockedOn. All right, and we want to thank you for making Locked On Knicks your first listen today, and every day for your second listen today. Check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. All right, Alex, I teed us up for it. RJ Barrett, similar to Julius Randle, maybe not quite to the same extent, but I would say a game of highs and lows. We can talk about it more in depth, but number of really bad defensive possessions, number of possessions where he didn't box out and allowed an easy rebound. But man, oh man, I can forgive it all because this was one of the guttiest performances of his career. This was one of the most complete performances of his career. 27 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, 9 and 21 from the field, 7 and 9 from the foul line, and fueling the Knicks to a win, playing power forward down the stretch, which, you know, Alex, a certain 5 days a week podcast has been calling for since his rookie season. And man, did it work well when Julius Randle got himself kicked out of this ballgame.
Yeah, I mean, RJ at the 4, you know, forget about Melo at the 4 10 years ago. Maybe this is like the revelation like that we've been waiting for here. I don't know. I doubt that we're going to see too much.
The East is big, man. The East is big.
Yeah. The East is small, man. I mean, Tibbs clearly does think the East is big because his number one option is Jericho Sims and Isaiah Hartenstein with Obi Toppin out. So, you know, is what it is.
Time is a flat circle.
A lot of truth in that. But yeah, I mean, I thought the RJ at the 4 was great. You know, the lineup that they were throwing out there, the Knicks don't often go with a 3-guard lineup, and it really works when you have 3 exceptional defensive guards out there, which is Deuce McBride, Emmanuel Quickley, Quentin Grimes. When those 3 are out there, plus RJ at the 4, and then it was mostly Hartenstein at the 5, but I think there was a few overlap minutes with Mitch there as well. I mean, it was a great product on the floor. Like these are the sort of things that the Knicks should be exploring all the time with a roster like what they have, right? Like you've got this roster of versatile guys, like all guys that are maybe a little undersized, but like built like brick, you know what houses. Like RJ Barrett is more than physically capable of not letting a 4-man back him down. Quentin Grimes is more than physically capable of guarding most threes that aren't named like Kevin Durant with like, you know, that's like actually 7 feet tall. Like your average 3-man, Quentin Grimes can do a good job on. And like Quickley and Deuce both have those otherworldly wingspans despite their limited height. So they can kind of switch around on the 1 and 2 and figure things out there. So like, I thought it was great. Like it led to a lot of opportunities where the Knicks were able to bend the Kings defense by like the things that stood out the most to me were just there were like a million possessions where either Grimes or RJ just kind of got the ball on the perimeter and just did like a quick little head fake or whatever, or like a quick little hezzy, and then we're able to just like be off to the races straight to the hoop. And it was with mixed results, but like down the stretch, especially those two are just feasting on those sort of opportunities. And RJ, it's great to see him doing that because, you know, even in this game, there were some, I'll call them annoying misses, you know, that we've come to associate with RJ, unfortunately, on layups on the inside where you're like, oh man, like the one he tried to throw up like a floater or something, he just had the worst touch imaginable. I don't know what he was trying to do. But like, you know, he all in all put it together towards the end of the game and, you know, really managed to leverage like his ability to use him being at the 4 to create advantages and used it to great effect. And to your point, you said he had one of his most well put together games of the season. I totally agree. I think that like, hopefully this was sort of I don't know. I struggle to say hopefully this is a turning point because we've seen some frustrating inconsistencies with RJ like his whole career, but I hope that this is a good building block game along with some of the other good games he's been having recently, and he can keep using these sort of things to be like, oh, okay, I do have these advantages, and like practice makes perfect with finishing. Hopefully, you know, he had a great righty finish in this game, some good ones with his dominant hand with the left. I just thought it was a really great performance for him all in all.
Yeah, I want to focus on 2 specific elements of it: his defense and his passing. And I thought on defense, man, there were such high highs and such low lows. It was almost funny. Like he just like first quarter, like two early plays where he got a great contest on Sabonis to force a miss, and then slid down to knock away a pass intended for Sabonis late where he was in help, and it was exactly the kind of play that earlier this season he just wasn't making. But effort plus IQ, I mean, equal to steal on that one. And then you fast forward later in the game, and there was some really ugly ones, right? He got back cut by Keegan Murray twice in about 8 minutes for layups. And then had another one where he was on Trey Lyles and just forgot to box him out. And Trey Lyles just walked in for about the easiest rebound and put back you'll ever see. Had another one where he didn't box out Herter, and that really frustrated me because, man, I mean, Kevin Herter's in the midst of an incredible season, but RJ Barrett should be multitude stronger than Kevin Herter, and be able to box him out and be able to just throw a body in him. And that's always what frustrates, or not always, but this season, what frustrates me the most with RJ, where you just have the inexplicable like lack of physicality from someone whose greatest strength is supposed to be his physical strength. But then there was some crazy good stuff later on in the game. Got a great strip from behind on Sabonis and help. And then just went coast to coast and drew a foul on the other end. And then what I thought was the best defensive play I've seen from him this season, where after Trey Lyles beat Isaiah Hartenstein, RJ came flying in help side and got a block on Lyles, which you just do not see him get a lot of blocks. And then the passing in this game, it didn't always lead to assists, but it was maybe the best passing game he's had all season. Just threw a dot at one point to Quentin Grimes in the second quarter, which just great zip on the basketball. And then had another one where he was like off the dribble. And this wasn't on RJ. This was on Tibbs. We're having this lineup. He zipped it cross court to Jericho Sims, who was waiting in the opposite corner, and it got waved off because I think it was either Mitchell Robinson or Isaiah Hartenstein, whoever the other center was, just committed an offensive foul on the play. But the process was good. And it's exactly the kind of pass that Prez was talking about when he was on this podcast a couple of days ago and saying that was the biggest skill RJ needed to add, those cross-court reads. And he made them time and time again in this one. And then just down the stretch, Alex, like two massive buckets. Had the one where he spun inside on Sabonis. Herter came over to double, and then he just kind of stepped through both of them and then finished over Barnes and over a contest from Sabonis. And then had the game-sealing bucket, just bullying Barnes inside to make it 112-99 with 1:14 to go. So to your point, lots of issues, lots of good stuff. Crazy, crazy game from RJ Barrett.
Yeah, and another crazy thing that you could potentially run into is having to do hiring for your company. And if that is the case, you can hit up LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every new potential hire could feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have the access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. And look, I say this all the time during this ad read, but I don't have a ton of experience being a hiring manager. However, I do have a lot of experience being a job seeker, and LinkedIn Jobs consistently points me to the best jobs available. As a job poster, you can feel pretty confident that your job's not only going to go in front of the people that you might expect it to go in front of, but also in front of other people that maybe wouldn't be looking for that job in the first place, but that could be the perfect candidate for you. So add your job and put the purple hiring frame on your LinkedIn profile, and you can spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience, so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. You guys know it's the end of the year. You got to finish the year strong, especially if you're a small business, because every person matters. So use LinkedIn Jobs for that. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnba to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right. And we are back to Locked On Knicks, talking about this 112-99 win. And Gavin, maybe out of not wanting to put a damper on the evening or whatever, we have not talked about this yet, but Jaylen Brunson got hurt in this game, and he got hurt twice, actually. He had a really rough game, and that dude, man, he takes so many bumps in any given game. I mean, you want to talk about fouls that didn't get called. The one where he hurt himself, I mean, he got like hip checked, and that was the first time he got hurt. He was up in the air. The Knicks did a lot of Clyde's cardinal sin of passing in this game. They left their feet a lot. Like Julius was doing it, Brunson was doing it. It was like the en vogue thing for the Knicks in this game was jumping in the air and then figuring out the pass. Brunson kind of did that on the baseline, jumped in the air, looked like he was looking to swing a pass around or go up for a layup, and then it just got absolutely demolished. There was no foul call. I forget who it was. I think it was Keegan Murray. It was kind of just there, and like just sort of inadvertently. I don't think it was like intentional, but like, yeah, Brunson got laid out, lands right on his hip. He does manage to walk that one off through some pain, apparently, but, you know, got up and kind of hobbled around for a minute and then was like, okay, I can get back in the game. Then later on in the game, ends up twisting his ankle, and that did take him out of the game. And he apparently is dealing with an ankle sprain. Not great stuff. He has been, I mean, as great as Julius Randle has been lately, Brunson has been the guiding light for the Knicks this entire year. I mean, he's been the stabilizing presence that they've needed for like 2 decades at point guard. And if I guess we'll wait to see what the official report is, but if this ends up being like a high ankle sprain, which is the more, you know, taxing one, and he needs to be out for more than like a game or two, this could potentially be a pretty big deal for the Knicks right now at this juncture that they're at right now. Yeah, I guess that's, I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts like on this injury? I guess not that there's like too much to really pause it about until we hear an injury report, but I thought that was maybe the biggest storyline out of the game, unfortunately.
No, yeah, and you're right. We buried the lead a little bit to talk about more fun stuff, but the good news is the Knicks got a lot of evidence the last couple of games that they can survive to some extent without Jalen Brunson, because coming into this game, he was obviously coming off his 2 worst shooting performances of the season. It wasn't even something like 7 of 30 over his last 2 games, and the Knicks were just fine because Julius Randle is volcanic right now. But the second Julius Randle returns from that to who he has been offensively for most of this year, which is still a good player on that end of the floor, to a very good player on that end of the floor. But when you lose like this apex version of Randle, where does it leave the New York Knicks? And even tonight, Alex, when Randle was going off, it was Jalen Brunson who carried them through the first 8 minutes or so of the first quarter, where I thought he was playing some of the best basketball I've seen from him this entire season. Where I mean, he had one where he just torched Herter on a crossover, pulled up for an insane midi in heavy traffic. Then Davion Mitchell, who allegedly, and look, I don't watch a lot of Sacramento, and he was an elite defender at Baylor, but allegedly one of the better point guard defenders in the NBA. And Brunson was just playing with him, right? Went behind the back, got into the lane, pump fake. Finally, Mitchell bites on it, and Brunson just calmly goes up and draws the foul. I mean, and his final shot of the game was on Chimezie Metu, who played fantastic defense on him. And then Brunson just swooped inside of him on a pivot, hit a lefty push shot inside the elbow. And you're looking at him and you're like, who else on planet Earth does that? Like I mean, we've said it a million times, but the guy is a genius. I think his passing this whole year has been underrated, particularly because he creates 3 or 4 assists every game that just get left on the cutting room floor because the Knicks haven't always shot well this year. And as well as they finish this game with IQ, with Deuce, and with Quentin Grimes, I think they're in quite a bit of trouble offensively without Jalen Brunson. And at some point, or not at some point, as next game, I think you're going to see Derrick Rose back into the rotation, which will buoy the offense, but there's obviously a trade-off defensively if you bring Rose back.
Yeah, maybe this is a good opportunity to bring up, like, if we're going to talk about what rotations could potentially look like going forward. I didn't fully understand why Cam Reddish didn't make it into this game either. Like one of the biggest, I was telling you this before the show, like I was on vacation for a week. So like I was like loosely aware of what was happening. The biggest thing that completely perplexed me as I was kind of like keeping up with things from afar, not being able to watch the whole games and whatever, was like, what the heck happened that Cam Reddish all of a sudden like can't even get on the floor when the Knicks are short Obi Toppin, and that like Tibbs would rather throw Jericho Sims and Isaiah Hartenstein out there together. It's just very bizarre to me. So like if Brunson is forced to miss some time, I would expect / hope that would mean like, okay, Emmanuel Quickley is going to take over for the minutes, or at least like a good chunk of the minutes that he would normally play. But with Deuce McBride already in the rotation and like Grimes already pretty well situated and RJ and all that stuff, like why not? I mean, you might not even have to put Derrick Rose back in the rotation if you just kind of work it with Quickley and Deuce, and you could potentially throw Reddish back in there. I don't get what the deal is with why he all of a sudden is banished if there's something going on behind the scenes or at practice or something like that. But it's been a little perplexing to me to watch that all go down. Like I said, watching it sort of from semi afar for the last week. This game especially, I could not wrap my brain around him not seeing the floor. If Brunson's out, it might be a little unconventional, but like I almost hope that he's the beneficiary more so than Rose. Although I'm almost positive it'll just end up being D Rose probably because it's Tibbs and that's like he's probably been waiting for this opportunity ever since he was presumably forced to bench Rose anyway. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely pulling for a Cam Reddish revival over a Derrick Rose revival. And that's nothing against Derrick Rose, and more just that, like, I feel like it's more of a travesty that Cam Reddish kind of got sat down after the year that he was having leading up to getting sat down. It just doesn't make too much sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I went into it in depth with Prez. Like we were both kind of saying, like it's a case of Tibbs, like has never really been the biggest Reddish fan, and he was kind of just waiting for Reddish to give him a reason, and the combination of Quentin Grimes returning and Reddish having 2 really bad games in a row was enough of a reason. And I guess now that he is openly being discussed in trade talks, and that is very much public knowledge. I honestly think Tibbs doesn't want a repeat of the Kemba Walker situation last year, which was fun, but also like kind of an embarrassment to him. And the difference here, just from a pure basketball sense, is what Kemba was doing was incredible for that 1 week, but completely unsustainable. What Cam's been doing all year, I think, is very sustainable. And again, that doesn't mean every game's going to be perfect, but he is clearly a helpful NBA rotation player and can be on this team. And this is a group that is starving for an extra body, an extra talented body. They have one. I think it's insane. I'm with you that they're not going to play him, but I don't think they're going to play him. I would be really surprised if he was out there next game. And I do think we get some Rose, just because I don't think they really trust Deuce as a point guard quite yet. And honestly, I'm not even sure how much Tibbs trusts IQ running point for over 30 minutes a game, for better or worse. So I guess we'll see how that turns out. But Alex, you maybe we can finish up with some rapid fire quick hitters on other guys in this game. There were a lot of really high level efforts. Who else stood out to you in this game?
I want to give a quick shout out to Mitch and Hartenstein, doing the yearly thing where now it's only twice a year because Sabonis plays in the other conference, but the twice a year lesson in center footwork and how to not jump and not screw up a defensive possession and foul the guy when he's just moving on a pivot foot. Like, you're bigger than him. You could just stand there with your arms up and it'll be fine. Like, it'll be good. You'll probably adjust him enough that he won't make the shot, or it'll at least not lead to a foul and you'll make it into like a 40-60 ball. Like, he maybe would make 40% of contested shots at the rim like that, which is a number you can live with. They really struggled early on in this game with him. Like, Mitch got into foul trouble. He eventually fouled out, but I thought that it got a little ticky-tack towards the end with Mitch. Like, it seemed like the Knicks were considering challenging the foul that ultimately fouled Mitch out, but I thought he did a really good job kind of reining it in after a tough start to the game. And same thing with Hartenstein. Like, he came in and it was just like, I think between the two of them, they had something like 5 or maybe even 6 fouls combined by halftime between the two of them, which is not ideal. But they wound up kind of pulling it out. So I'll give it to those two. That's like my first quick hitter. I'm trying to think. I mean, I'll throw it to you. We can just go back and forth. But yeah, I wanted to definitely shout those guys out because there's a definite progression within the game of how they were able to deal with Sabonis. And I always like seeing that when guys can adjust like that in game.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Sabonis was embarrassing. Isaiah Hartenstein at points in this game. Like, it was he did not have a chance. It was almost like a ultimate fighting, like, tap out situation for Hartenstein. But Mitch, on the other hand, I mean, to your point, the foul trouble was a real issue, but 12 points, 9 boards, including 4 on the offensive end and 2 blocks in 19 minutes is nothing to scoff at. I saw an incredible stat on Mitchell Robinson today. It was via the Twitter handle, or the Twitter called Swoops, at Play Swoops on Twitter. Highest contested rebound percentage in the NBA. Mitchell Robinson is at 71%. That leads the NBA. The next highest participant or the next highest player is Anthony Davis at 56.5%. Anthony Davis to Sengun, who's in 10th, is a 7% difference. Robinson to AD is a 15% difference. Mitch is in his own stratosphere as a rebounder this season, and he showed it again in this game with some of the crazy offensive boards he got to sustain possessions for the New York Knicks. Also had some big time blocks despite getting an ankle injury in this one. A really nice one on Keegan Murray. So I think Mitch is continuing to play some of the best basketball of his career. But I'll talk about Deuce and Grimes and IQ real quick in conjunction, because I just think Alex, and I know you've said similar stuff in the past, what those three guys do kind of compounds on each other, where it's sort of like the whole is greater than the sum of the parts situation. Because it's like one guy makes a hustle play that leads to one guy making another hustle play that leads to a third guy making a hustle play that leads to a dunk. Or it's one guy makes an extra pass and then another guy makes an extra pass that leads to a wide open free throw layup. And I honestly think like obviously RJ and Julius deserve all the credit in the world for what they're doing right now. Those three on both ends of the floor, they're saving their butts defensively. And offensively, they are encouraging their best tendencies. Like with Deuce over and over again, it was just making the simple play in this ball game. Like he had one where he after he hit a wing three, then he had just an attack down the middle, drew two, and just kicked it back out to RJ Barrett for three. Had another one where he got middle and then just threw a no look whip pass out to Quentin Grimes, who immediately swung it to Emmanuel Quickley, and then Emmanuel Quickley beat a closeout for this gorgeous swooping up and under layup. And then RJ got in on the act, like near the end of the game. He was doubled near half court, just threw a bounce pass out of it to Deuce, who did a really nice job coming towards the ball, seeing his guy was in trouble. And then Deuce just shuffled over to Grimes, wide open, top of the key. Grimes nailed the three. And then on an individual level, I mean, some of Emmanuel Quickley's shot making in this game was just crazy. Like, please, we haven't talked about it a lot in the pod yet. Please do not trade this guy, man. I just love watching him play basketball. The play where he, I think it was off a rebound that he got. It was a long rebound. He froze Trey Lyles with it behind the back and then sped by him for a layup. It was just, and it looked like Allen Iverson for a second there. And then to end the first quarter, that one where he crossed up Dellavedova, just dribbled around Metu and then nailed like a running floater banker to end the first quarter of play. Like it's just fun watching those guys right now. And I hope they continue to get tons of minutes together, because look, it's going to be a little different when they play better defenses, but right now it's a joy to watch.
Yeah. And you know, the Kings might not be a good defense, but they've at least been a team that's played pretty well so far this year. So,
yeah,
you know,
no Fox exactly, obviously, but good team.
Yeah, with no Fox, but still, you know, a team that has seemed to have its stuff together this year so far, and the Knicks still managed to do what they did, and also hold them to a really low point total compared to what they've been scoring through the year. I think they said on the broadcast the second highest offense in the league this year on a points per game basis. So
they were number one coming into this week. So yeah,
pretty solid. So anyway, I think that's good though. The benefit of the short rotation is that when we rapid fire a couple guys, suddenly we've talked about every single guy that played in the game except for maybe Jericho Sims. So, and he only played 8 minutes. Sorry, Jericho. So we're going to end the show on that note. Thank you all for listening, and we'll be back with some more great episodes this week. A couple more game recaps, perhaps wrapping up some of the mailbag questions that we got from you all, and other great stuff. So that's all coming up later this week on Locked On Knicks. But until then, thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to y'all soon. Peace out.